Good morning, Dr. Rosita Ilago and classmates. I am Clavel Joy Espinazo, and my report is about human resources management interventions on performance management. Today, we will be discussing human resources management interventions concerned with managing individual and group performance. Performance management involves goal setting, performance appraisal, and reward systems that align member work behavior with business strategy, employee involvement, and workplace technology. So, what is a performance management? It is an integrated process of defining, assessing, and reinforcing employee work behaviors and outcomes. It is a strategic approach to creating and sustaining improved performance in employees, leading to an increase in the effectiveness of companies. As shown in the figure, performance management includes practices and methods for goal setting, performance appraisal, and reward systems. These practices jointly influence the performance of individuals and work groups. Goal setting specifies the kinds of performances that are desired. Performance appraisal assesses those outcomes, and the reward systems provide the reinforces to ensure that desired outcomes are repeated. Because performance management occurs in a larger organizational context, at least three contextual factors determine how these practices affect work performance: the business strategy, workplace technology, and employee involvement. High levels of work performance tend to occur when goal setting and performance appraisal and the reward systems are aligned jointly with these contextual factors. Let us now proceed to the first practice in performance management, the goal setting. Goal setting specifies the kinds of performances that are desired. It describes the interaction between managers and employees in jointly defining member work behaviors and outcomes. Goal setting can clarify the duties and responsibilities associated with a particular job or work group. When applied to jobs or performance or individual performance, it focuses on the individual goals and can reinforce individual contributions and work outcomes. And when applied to work groups, it can be directed at group objectives and can reinforce members' joint actions and overall group outcomes. One popular and classic approach to goal setting is called management by objectives. So there are two elements of goal setting: the establishing challenging goals and clarifying goal management. So, the first element of goal setting concerns establishing goals that are perceived as challenging but realistic and to which there is high level of commitment. This can be accomplished by varying the goal difficulty and the level of employee participation in the goal setting process. Increasing the difficulty of employee goals, also known as a stretch goals, can increase their perceived challenge and enhance the amount of effort expended to achieve them. Thus, more difficult goals tend to lead to increased effort and performance as long as they are seen as feasible. If goals are set too high, however, they may lose their motivating potential and employees will give up when they fail to achieve them. An important method for increasing the acceptance of a challenging goal is to collect benchmarks or best practice reference. When employees see that other people, groups, or organizations have achieved a specified level of performance, they are more motivated to achieve that level themselves. The second element in the goal setting process involves specifying and clarifying the goals. When given specific goals, workers perform higher than when they are simply told to do their best or when they receive no guidance at all. Specific goals reduce ambiguity about expectations and focus the search for appropriate behaviors. Clarifying goal measurement also requires that employees and supervisors negotiate the resources necessary to achieve the goals. For example, time, equipment, raw materials, and access to information. If employees cannot have appropriate resources, the targeted goal may have to be revised. So there are four approaches to goal setting developed by the OD practitioners. First is the diagnosis, second, preparation for goal setting, third, setting of goals, fourth, review. So first, diagnosis. The first step is a thorough diagnosis of the job or work group, of employee needs, and of the three context factors: business strategy, workplace technology, and level of employee involvement. This provides information about the nature and difficulty of specific goals, the appropriate types and levels of participation, and the necessary support systems. Second, the preparation for goal setting. This step prepares managers and employees to engage in goal setting, typically by increasing interaction and communication between the managers and the employees, and offering formal training in goal setting methods. Specific action plans for implementing the program also are made at this time. Third is the goal setting of goals. In this step, challenging goals are established and methods for goal measurement are clarified. Employees participate in the process to the extent that contextual factors support such involvement, and to the extent that they are likely to set higher goals than those assigned by management. And lastly, the fourth approach, review. At this final step, the goal setting process is assessed so that modifications can be made if necessary. The goal attributes are evaluated to see whether the goals are energizing and challenging, and whether they support the business strategy and can be influenced by the employees. So here's another approach in goal setting, the popular and classic approach, management by objective, or MBO. This method is chiefly an attempt to align personal goals with a business strategy by increasing communications and shared perceptions between manager and subordinates, either individually or as a group, and by reconciling conflict where it exists. All organizations have goals and objectives. All managers have goals and objectives. In many instances, however, those goals are not stated clearly, and managers and subordinates have misunderstandings about what those objectives are. MBO is an approach to resolving these differences in perceptions and goals. MBO is characterized by systematic and periodic manager subordinate meetings designed to accomplish organizational goals by joint planning of work, periodic reviewing of accomplishments, and mutual solving of problems that arise in the course of getting the job done. So there are six basic steps in implementing an MBO. The first step is the work group involvement. Second is the joint manager subordinate goal setting. Third, establishment of action plans for goals. Fourth, establishment of criteria or yardsticks of success. Fifth, review and recycle. And lastly, the maintenance of records. So, in the first step of MBO, the work group involvement, the members of the primary work group define overall group and individual goals and establish action plans for achieving them. If this step is omitted or if organizational goals and strategies are unclear, the effectiveness of an MBO approach may be greatly reduced over time. Second is the joint manager subordinate goal setting. Once the work group's overall goals and responsibilities have been determined, attention is given to the job duties and responsibilities of the individual role incumbents. Roles are carefully examined in light of their interdependence with the roles of others outside the work group. Third, the establishment of action plans for goals. The subordinate develops action plans for goal accomplishment either in a group meeting or in a meeting with the immediate manager. The action plans reflect the individual style of the subordinate, not that of the supervisor. The fourth step, the establishment of criteria or yardsticks of success. At this point, the manager and the subordinate agree on the success criteria for the goals that have been established, criteria that are not limited to easily measurable or quantifiable data. A more important reason for jointly developing the success criteria is to ensure that the manager and the subordinate have a common understanding of the task and what is expected of the subordinate. Frequently, the parties involved discover that they have not reached a mutual understanding. The subordinate and the manager may have agreed on a certain task, but in discussing how to measure its success, they find that they have not been communicating clearly. Arriving at a joint understanding and agreement on success criteria is the most important step in the entire MBO process. So let's now proceed to the fifth step, the review and recycle. Periodically, the manager reviews work progress either in the larger group or with the subordinate. There are three stages in this review process. First, the subordinate takes the lead, reviewing the progress and discussing achievements and the obstacles faced. Next, the manager discusses work plans and objectives for the future. Last, after the action plans have been made, a more general discussion covers the subordinates' future ambitions and other factors of concern. In this final phase, a great deal of coaching and counseling usually takes place. And lastly, the sixth step in implementing an MBO is the maintenance of records. In many MBO programs, the working documents of the goals, criteria, yardsticks, priorities, and due dates are forwarded to a third party. Although the evidence is indirect, it is likely that the MBO program, as an OD effort, suffers when the working papers are reviewed regularly by a third party, such as higher management or the personnel department. Experience shows that when the working papers routinely are passed on, they are less likely to reflect open, honest communication within the supervisor, subordinate pair, or the work group. Often, they represent instead an effort to impress the third party or to comply with institutionalized rules and procedures. Let us now proceed to the second practice in performance management, the performance appraisal. Performance appraisal is a feedback system that involves the direct evaluation of individual or work group performance by a supervisor, manager, or peers. Most organizations have some kind of evaluation system that is used for performance feedback, pay administration, and some cases, counseling and developing employees. Thus, performance appraisal represents an important link between the goal setting processes and the reward systems. So here's a table of a performance appraisal elements. The table summarizes several common elements of performance appraisal systems. For each element, two contrasting features are presented, representing the traditional approaches and the newer, high involvement approaches. Performance appraisals are conducted for a very variety of purposes, such as affirmative action, pay and promotion decisions, and human resources planning and development. Each purpose defines what performances are relevant and how they should be measured. So, separate appraisal systems are often used. To balance the multiple organizational and employee needs, new appraisal approaches are more tailored by actively involving the appraisee, co-workers, and managers in assessing the purposes of the appraisal at the time it takes place and adjusting the process to fit that purpose. This helps ensure that the purpose of the appraisal is correctly identified and understood, and that the appropriate appraisal methods are applied. The appraiser role has expanded to include multiple raters, such as the appraisee, peers, co-workers, and direct reports. This 360-degree feedback approach is used more for member development than compensation purposes and provides a more comprehensive assessment of the employee's performance. The key task is to form an overarching view of the employee's performance that incorporates all of the different appraisals, improving the appraisal's acceptance, accuracy, and focus on activities critical to the business strategy. Newer methods of appraisal involve appraisees in all phases of the process rather than just receiving the feedback. The appraisee joins with superiors and staff personnel in gathering data and identifying training needs, which includes the employee's views, needs, and criteria as well as those of the organization. This increases the employee's acceptance and understanding of the feedback process. Performance measurement is a key factor in appraisal, but it is often subjective. To improve consistency and validity, organizations are using methods such as the behaviorally anchored rating scale. This new approach involves all participants by being involved in goal setting and training in methods of measuring and assessing performance. It focuses on both objective and subjective measures of performance, making the appraisal process more understood, accepted, and accurate. Performance appraisals traditionally are based on administrative criteria and frequency of feedback, but newer approaches have increased the frequency of feedback. The process of designing and implementing a performance appraisal system has received increasing attention. OD practitioners have recommended the following six steps. First is to select the right people. The design process must involve all necessary stakeholders to address performance appraisal and ensure strategic and organizational issues are addressed. Second, diagnose the current situation. Diagnosis involves assessing contextual factors, current appraisal practices, work design, and goal setting to define the strengths and weaknesses of a new system. Third, establish the system's purposes and objectives. Appraisal system helps organizations achieve better performance. Potential purposes include rewards, career planning, HR planning, and performance feedback. Fourth is the design the performance appraisal system. The performance appraisal system should be designed with the following criteria in mind: timeliness, accuracy, acceptance, understanding, focus on critical control points, and economic feasibility. Timeliness is important to ensure that performance information is received before evaluation or review. Accurate data should be used to measure performance, and feedback should be accepted and owned by the people who use it. Understanding information contained in the appraisal system is important for problem solving value. Critical control points should be aligned with important elements of the business strategy, employee performance, and reward system. Finally, the economic feasibility criterion suggests that an appraisal system should meet a simple cost benefit test if the costs associated with collecting and feeding back performance information exceed the benefits derived from using the information. Fifth is the experiment with implementation. The complexity and potential problems associated with performance appraisal processes strongly suggest using a pilot test of the new process to spot, gauge, and correct any flaws in the design before it is implemented system wide. And lastly, is to evaluate and monitor the system. Evaluate and monitor the system to ensure that the user satisfaction from staff, managers, and employees is important for legal defensibility. So let us now proceed to the third practice in performance management, the reward systems. Reward systems is concerned with eliciting and reinforcing desired behaviors and work outcomes through compensation and other forms of recognition. Organizational rewards are powerful incentives for improving employee and work group performance. as rewards also can produce high levels of employee satisfaction. OD traditionally relied on intrinsic rewards to motivate performance derived from performing challenging, meaningful type of works, but practitioners have now expanded to include extrinsic rewards such as pay, incentives, promotions, and benefits. Both types of rewards can enhance performance and satisfaction. A reward system is an important part of an organization's design and must be aligned with the strategy, structure, employee involvement, and work. The design features of a reward system are summarized in this table. First, we have the person or job based versus performance based. By definition, it is the extent to which rewards and incentives are based on the person in a job, the job itself, or the outcomes of the work. One of the first and most important design choices is a focus or basis of the reward system. The most prevalent system is the job based system. Job descriptions are created for each position, and pay is based on the valuation process. Skill based pay and knowledge based pay are examples of this system. Pay is also contingent on the outcomes produced. Next, we have the market position, the external equity, and the internal equity. By definition, external equity is the relationship between what an organization pays and what other organizations pay. The internal equity is the extent to which people doing similar work in an organization are rewarded the same. Organizations must ensure that their pay policies are equitable or fair to ensure member satisfaction and motivation. Internal equity involves ensuring similar rewards are given to people holding similar jobs or performing similarly. External equity involves comparing rewards with those of other organizations in the same labor market. Next, we have the hierarchy. It is the extent to which people in higher positions get more and varied types of rewards than people lower in the organization. Organizations offer different types of rewards based on organization structure, with senior managers having access to more than others. Next is the centralization. It is the extent to which reward systems, design features, decisions, and administration are standardized across an organization. Next is the rewards mix. It is the extent to which different types of rewards are available and offered to people. The reward strategy should include pay, benefits, and prerequisites, including preferred office space, cell phones, cars, or health club memberships. Recent changes in stock options are changing the way stock is viewed as part of the rewards mix. Benefit programs and status incentives should also be considered as they have become more valuable due to rising healthcare costs and increasing interest in retaining skills. Next is the security. It is the extent to which work is guaranteed. Organizations such as the IBM and AT&T once offered organization members lifetime employment as a formal policy. Today, the rapid expansion and contraction of markets and the realities of downsizing from dramatically altered have dramatically altered the psychological employment contract. Instead of job security, a more instrumental relationship has emerged. However, organizations can and do make commitments to people and job security, and this remains an important feature of reward systems. Lastly, we have the seniority. By definition, it is the extent to which rewards are based on length of service. Many reward systems include an implicit or explicit policy concerning the value of longevity. Organizations, especially unionized companies covered by a collective bargaining agreement, often have built in rewards for increasing lengths of service. Let us proceed to the four types of reward system: the skill and knowledge-based pay systems, performance-based system, gain sharing system, and the promotion systems. These reward systems can be used to reward individual, team, or organization performance. Each system represents a flexible intervention that is effective in improving employee performance and satisfaction. The most traditional reward system is the individual and job based. So, the characteristic of a particular job are determined and pay is made comparable to what other organizations pay for jobs with similar characteristic. Skill based pay systems provide organizational effectiveness by creating a flexible workforce and providing employees with a broad perspective, leading to better staffing and employee satisfaction. Skill based pay schemes have three major drawbacks: the top out, expense, and lack of performance contingency. Top out occurs when employees learn all the skills and reach the top end of the pay scale. Organizations have addressed this by installing gain sharing plans or making base skills obsolete and adding new ones. Training and measurement systems are expensive and can increase direct labor costs. Pay is based on skill and not performance, leading to high paid and flexible workers who are not productive. Next, we have the performance based system. Based on research, the best performance based pay system seem to be group and organization bonus plans that are based on objective measures of performance and individual salary. These plans are relatively good at linking pay to performance. They have few negative side effects and at least modest employee acceptance. The group and organization plans promote cooperation and should be used where there is high task interdependence among workers, such as might be found on assembly lines. The individual plan promotes competition and should be used where there is little required cooperation among employees, such as in field sales jobs. Next, the gain sharing system. As the name implies, gain sharing involves paying employees a bonus based on improvements in the operating results of an organization. Although not traditionally associated with employee involvement, gain sharing increasingly has been included in comprehensive employee involvement projects. Many organizations are discovering that when designed correctly, gain sharing plans can contribute to employee motivation, involvement, and performance. Lastly, the promotion systems. Organizations have been trying to reduce the secrecy surrounding promotions and job changes by openly posting the availability of new jobs and inviting people to nominate themselves. This has increased the pool of available personnel, increased employee motivation, and increased the accuracy and equity of job change decisions. Peer and subordinate judgments about a person's performance and promotability can also help bring all relevant data to bear on promotion decisions. Participation in selecting new members can lead to greater group cohesiveness and task effectiveness. In summary, this chapter presented three types of human resources management interventions: the goal setting, performance appraisal, and reward systems. Although all three change programs are relatively new to organization development, they offer powerful methods for managing employee and worker performance. They also help enhance worker satisfaction and support work design, business strategy, and employee involvement practices. Principles contributing to the success of goal setting include establishing challenging goals and clarifying measurement. These are accomplished by setting difficult but feasible goals, managing participation in the goal setting process, and being sure that the goals can be measured and influenced by the employee or work group. The most common form of goal setting, management by objectives, depends on top management support and participative planning to be effective. Performance appraisals represent an important link between goal setting and reward systems. As part of an organization's feedback and control system, they provide employees and work groups with information they can use to improve work outcomes. Appraisals are becoming more participative and developmental. An increasing number of people are involved in collecting performance data, evaluating an employee's performance, and determining how the appraisee can improve. Reward systems, interventions elicit, reinforce, and maintain desired performance. They can be oriented to individual jobs, work groups, or organizations and affect both performance and employee well-being. In addition to traditional job-based compensation systems, the major reward system interventions in use in use today are skill based pay for performance, gain sharing, and promotions. Each of the plans has strengths and weaknesses when measured against criteria of performance contingency, equity, availability, timeliness, durability, and visibility. The critical process of implementing a reward system involves decisions about who should be involved in designing and administering it and how much information about pay should be communicated. So that's it. Thank you for listening and have a great day ahead.